This just happened 15 minutes ago, right after I got off a 2-hour flight from my vacation. I really needed to use the restroom because I avoid using the toilets on planes. As a transgender person living in a state that isn't very accepting, I try to use family restrooms for my own safety. I also have some health conditions that aren't visible, which make me feel more comfortable in a single-stall restroom. But even if I didn't have these reasons, what happened next was still completely wrong and selfish on this guy's part. As soon as we landed, I rushed to find a restroom because I really had to go. My hometown airport is medium-sized, and there are several family restrooms in the same area. I could see at least 3 of them right next to each other. I was about to run into one when a dad tried to stop me from entering. I had my headphones on, so I didn't catch every word, but basically he stopped me from locking the door and said, "This bathroom is for families. You can't use it." I was taken aback, and I wish I hadn't said what I said next, but I replied, "I'm transgender, and I prefer to use this restroom." I regret saying that, because it's not like I owe him an explanation. But he caught me off guard. He said, "It doesn't matter, use a different one." Normally, I would have let him go ahead of me. But I was desperate to use the restroom, and there were other bathrooms nearby. I refused to leave and locked the door instead. I did what I needed to do and came out. The guy was waiting for me outside, and he said some nasty things as I left. I was scared, but I just wanted to get away, so I ran and flipped him off. All I wanted was to use the bathroom, and I was terrified he might hurt me or worse, just for trying to do that. I don't think I did anything wrong. Anyone can use the family restroom, and I don't believe having a child gives him priority access, but I'm still really shaken up about what happened. So I'd like to hear what others think. Can someone please give me their honest opinion on this situation? Thanks. Update: I'm still upset and wanted to add some important details I forgot to mention earlier. The guy who yelled at me was holding a baby, and his wife was standing behind him. There was no line for the bathroom, and I had already opened the door to enter. But then he started yelling. So I opened it a bit again, thinking maybe there was a problem with the door or something. That's when I heard his ridiculous complaint, closed the door, used the restroom, and came out. And despite there being multiple other family restrooms nearby, he was still waiting for me. To make things even creepier, we were on the same flight, and I saw him scanning the crowd at the baggage claim, clearly looking for me. Story 2. Am I a terrible person for what happened to my son's child? I'm posting this anonymously because it's a very sensitive topic, and I don't want anyone to know who I am. My son and his girlfriend had been dating for about a year when she got pregnant by surprise. My wife was super excited to become a grandma. At first, my son decided to stay with his girlfriend, but soon after, he started spending time with his ex again. We knew because she lives close by and I've seen them together. I talked to my son about it, and he claimed his girlfriend was okay with him hanging out with his ex. But I'm not convinced they're still together, after all, to be honest. I'm a bit old-fashioned and can't really understand how that kind of relationship works. I've been cheated on in the past, and it was a huge betrayal that I still remember vividly. When my son told me he and his girlfriend were okay with him hanging out with his ex, I didn't believe him. My wife told me to let it go, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. I thought that if his girlfriend really knew about it and was okay with it, then asking her about it wouldn't be a big deal. So I decided to ask her directly. I asked her if she was okay with my son having an open relationship since he's the father of her child. But she seemed confused and had no idea what I was talking about. I realized that she and my son had never discussed this, and I told her that I had seen him with his ex. I also told her that he had said she was okay with it, which wasn't true. She started crying and left. A few hours later, my son called me, yelling at me for getting involved in his relationship. My wife is also very angry with me, saying that I'm risking our chance to be a part of our grandchild's life. To make a long story short, my son and his girlfriend broke up. She moved out of their place and went back to her parents' house. A few weeks went by, and then she told my son that she had an abortion. She said they had no reason to stay in touch and told him never to contact her again. My son and wife blame me for everything. They say she wouldn't have found out about his infidelity if I hadn't interfered. My wife is even talking about divorce, saying that if I'm not loyal to our family, how can she trust me to be loyal to her? I'm heartbroken about how things turned out, and I regret getting involved. I wish I had just kept quiet. Story 3. So me and my husband have been married for 5 years. We are currently F24 and M33. Way before we met, when I was 16, my mom's house had a house fire that burnt literally everything down, and sadly my childhood cat was also killed in it. I remember my mom and brother waking me up screaming, "Fire, fire, get up, get up." We crawled out under the smoke, and luckily my neighbors had already called the fire department and they pulled us out. We lost literally everything. We were devastated. So that was a while ago, but it still really scares me, and I check outlets and our stove and candles and everything all the time. My husband knows this about me. So 2 nights ago, I went to bed early because I am currently 34 weeks pregnant, literally about to pop. I was sleeping for a while before, for some reason, my husband decided to wake me up by yelling, "Baby, there's a fire, 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 get up." As quick as I could get up at 34 weeks, I did, and grabbed my purse. I was just in automatic shock and just autopilot, and knew I needed what to grab. I made it all the way down the stairs, yelling for my husband to follow me, before he started laughing and telling me it was a joke. It took a minute for that to process. I stood there with an open mouth while he laughed and ushered me down the rest of the stairs. I sat down on the couch and just started sobbing. It was genuinely the hardest I've ever sobbed. It's like I couldn't get myself to stop, and my whole body was shaking. My heart was racing and I couldn't breathe. I have never had this experience before. I was genuinely so panicked. I was so fucking upset. My husband apologized and was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, it was just a joke." I just cried until he eventually was like, "What the fuck, it was just a prank." This is really dramatic. After a few hours, I had calmed myself down and went to apologize to him. He wouldn't take it. He said I was being over dramatic and made him feel like shit for a harmless prank. So I guess I've never been good at taking jokes. I've been trying to be less sensitive, but IDK.